Good day and welcome to this channel. It is Noshola Sewing. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this stylish underbust corset top with funnel sleeve. Old and new viewers are welcome. Do well to give a like and a follow. Let's go into the video. This top has a zipper in front, and the materials we'll be needing is crepe material and lace. You'll be needing like 1 yard of crepe and like half yard of lace material. So what I'll be doing is to go in by 1 inch, which will serve as the zipper allowance. Then the next thing I do was to stop halfway. Then I went ahead to take my vertical measurements, which is my shoulder to nipple, my shoulder to underbust, my shoulder to my waist, and I'll go ahead and add 1.5 to it. So basically, for me to draw my straight line, I'm just taking the same measurement at 2 points of the paper. Then I'm going to go ahead with my ruler to roll out the place I have already marked. I am drawing a straight line at my bust point. Then I am just going to do the same as my under bust, the same as my waistline, and then I'll be coming down by the 1.5 inch I made earlier. So the next thing I'll be doing is labeling my lines, my bust point, my under bust point, then my waistline and my allowance. So before I started rolling out the 1.5 inch, which I continued to reach where I want my allowance to be. Then I'm just going to go ahead and roll it out. So that's basically all for that. So I'm going to go ahead to mark 3 inches for my neck width. Then I am going to go ahead to mark 7 inches for my shoulder. My shoulder measurement is 7 inches, so I'll be taking it there. Then I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, which I'll be connecting to the neckline. And then I am marking my chest line. So my chest line is 7, and the way I got my chest line was to divide my bust measurement by 6. Then what I got, I added 1.5 inch to it. Then I went ahead to rule it down. Then the next thing I'll be doing is to get my armhole curve. Then I'll be dividing that line I drew earlier by 2 and going in by 0.5. Then on my chest line, I'll be taking my bust measurement divided by 2, then make a curve connecting those 3 points I marked earlier. So I'll just be drawing it with my ruler so you can see how it looks like. So now I am done with that. So the next thing we are going to do is to locate where the neck is going to stop, the v-neck in front. So you can either come up from your underbust by 2 inches, or you just take it to the underbust. But I don't want mine to be open, so I'll just be taking mine at the bust point. So the neckline is totally up to you on how you want it to be. So I am just going ahead to make a row from my shoulder, from my neck to my bust point. So I'm just drawing a slant line there, so that will form my v-neck for the front. Okay, so the next thing I'm just going to do is just to go ahead and retrace the line with my marker pen so that it is very visible. So as you can see how slant the neck is looking. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to take my horizontal measurements. So I just going to mark my bust round measurement divided by 4, my underbust divided by 4, my waistline divided by 4, and I marked it there. And then I also took the same thing I marked there on my allowance line. So the next thing I'm just doing is just to place 1 inch seam allowance all through the points. So I did it on my bust line, my underbust, my waistline, and my allowance line. That is the 1.5 inches I came down earlier from the waist. So the next thing I'm going to do now is just to connect it from my armhole to the underbust, to the waistline, and also to the allowance line. So that's just basically it for the top. So what I'm just doing there is just to curve in the armhole properly. Then the next thing I did was to place my curve row on the underbust line. You place it on the underbust line so you can draw a curve that will meet the neckline. So that's just what I'm just doing. As you can see, I placed it on my underbust line, then make a curve that will just meet the the neckline or the bust point. So, and I went ahead to just rule out the allowance line. So the next thing I'll be doing is just to trace out the part I'll be cutting out. So I am done tracing out the part I'll be cutting out. So I went over to the shoulder slope, then divided what I got there, divided by 2. I divided what I got at the shoulder slope by 2. Then I went ahead to ensure that my ruler was straight. So this is just me using my eyes to check it out, but I wasn't convinced, so I just came in by my nipple to nipple measurement, then placed my ruler at both points. Then I made a straight line across that point. So that's just it. At this point, you can go ahead to cut if you don't want any basque effect, but I wanted my own to have a basque effect. So the thing I did was to come down by 5 inches, and I marked. Then I'm just taking that 5 inches across my top. So I am just going to roll a straight line. I'm going to just roll a straight line there. So I came in by 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance in the front, and as the other part has too. So I just went ahead to roll it. So from that 1.5 inches, 1 inches rather, I also came in by 1 inches before I was able to draw my curve. So I'll be drawing my curve to meet that 1 inches I came in by from the 1 inches of the zip allowance. I just hope you understand. Okay, I am doing that so that I would, when I fold my zip in front, not be coming out at the back, so the 1 inch will be like covering it. So the next thing I'm just going to do now is to proceed with my scissors and just cut it out. I am just going to be cutting the part I have those markers. So the markers will be like a guide that I'll be using to cut. So just watch as I'm cutting it. So I am just cutting out the shape of the blouse before I'll head over to the bust point where I draw the curve. So I now cut it completely. Like I'm just going to cut out the curve to separate the upper part and the lower part. So I am just going to go ahead and slash the part of the shoulder dart. Let me just call it the shoulder dart. I will slash it, but not completely. I'm just going to slash it in a way that it can be able to open, and I can be able to have some pleats at the underbust joining. So that's just all for the front. So what I'm just doing now is just taping it down because I mistakenly cut that part. I mistakenly cut the allowance line open, which was not supposed to be. So now we're going to proceed to the back of the clothes. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark my bust point, then my waistline with extra 1.5 inch for allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it at another point too, so it can enable me to take a straight line across. So next thing I'm just going to do is to go ahead with my ruler and connect my lines together. So I'm just connecting the bust lines, the waist line, and the allowance line. So that's just basically what I'll be doing. Since the back will not have an opening, so I'm just going to go in by my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inch, and I marked it there. Then from that 7 inch I came down by 1 inch my shoulder slope. Then from that 1 inch I ruled out my chest line. So for the neck, I'll be coming in by 3 inches and 1.5 inches down. Then I'm going to make a curve to connect the shoulder. So I'll just be making my neck curve rather. I'm making my neck curve. Then I'm going to go ahead with my ruler and draw a straight line from my neck to my shoulder. After I've already drawn my shoulder slant, I am just going to label my bust point, my waist, and then my allowance. On the bust point, I came in by my bust measurement divided by 4, and I'll just be marking a straight line there. So this will help me form my armhole curve. Then I came out a little at the chest line. Then I'm just going to take my bust measurement divided by 4 there, and I'm also going to take it at the bust point. I'm going to take my waist measurements divided by 4, and I'm going to take the same thing I got at my waist down to my allowance line. I'm now going to add 1 inch seam allowance through. After that is done, I am now just going to connect those lines with my ruler. I'm just drawing a straight line there, then I'm connecting the points together from the waistline to the allowance line. So I'm just going to use my marker to rule a straight line at that point. So the next thing I'm just going to do now is to draw my armhole curve. I'm just drawing my armhole curve, then I'm just measuring to see where my armhole curve is starting from. Then I'm going to proceed with my scissors to cut. I'm just going to cut out the back part of the cloth. So that's basically all for the back. Then I'm going to set it aside. The next thing I'll be doing is folding up my fabric into two. I'll be cutting the back on the fold, so I'll just be arranging it. I'll be folding it into two so I can cut out the back piece. So I'm going to secure the pattern paper with my pin on the fabric before I proceed to cutting. Once I'm through with that, I'm just going to cut out the excess, then fold the fabric for the front. I'm going to fold it into two. So this is me cutting the neckline where my neck is going to be. So I'm just going to open up that slash part, the part I slashed. I'm going to open it up and separate it by 1.5 inches. While separating, I noticed that it wasn't relaxing properly, so I just went ahead with my scissors and still made more slash. I made more slash at that point, so it was now relaxed, and I arranged it and held it in place with my pin. This slash is going to help us make some little darts at the underbust. So I'll be gathering it. That's why I am giving it that slash. I'll be gathering that bust part so that I can have some little pleats. So next thing I'm just going to do is just to cut out the piece I'll be working with. So I'm just basically going to be cutting out the neckline, the shoulder. Then at this part I'll be adding 0.5 inches, so that because of my joining, because I'll be joining it back to the lower part, so I'm going to add 0.5 inches and then continue cutting out the other part of the armhole. So that will be all for the upper part. Then it is time for me to cut the lower part. So I've already gone ahead to fold my fabric into two. So the next thing I'll be doing is just to be arranging it. I'll arrange it properly and then secure it with my pin before I go ahead to cut. So I'm just securing with my pin and ensuring that everywhere is relaxed. Now that it is properly relaxed, I am just going to proceed to cut. Then as I'm cutting, I'm just going to ensure that I give 0.5 inch at the top, at the upper part of the cloth too. So at this point I'm just marking 0.5 inch. Since it was on a fold, I just went ahead to open it up. So for the front we are having 2 pieces each, but for the back is only 1 piece. So now I've gone ahead to fold the part I'll be needing for my sleeve. So I'll just be coming down by 4 inch and also coming by 4 inch. Then I found my midpoint, then I drew a curve to connect it, my armhole curve. So from the hem of the sleeve I came up by 9 inches, but I will advise you come up by 7 inches, so or 5 inches. I came up by 9 inches. Then I took my round sleeve measurement. Then what I'll be doing is just to place my round sleeve measurement at that point, divided by 2, then added 1 inch seam allowance through. Then I connected from my armhole curve to the point. Then I came out like an A shape at the sleeve. So like I came out from that line with a slanted line, like I drew a slanted line. Then I am just going to be cutting out my sleeve. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more tutorials. So after that was done, I just made a notch at the end.